Hey guys, I'm Gayatri, and we're back with the intro to the WebDev IST series. So today I'm going to talk about some more basic elements in HTML. I'll be covering links, images, tables, classes, and IDs. So first off, links. So the A tag is used for hyperlinks, and it has a href attribute. So the href attribute is basically where the link of the page that we want to visit is put, and the text that is between the opening and closing A tag, which in this case is visit the IST and ITK site. So this is basically what you click when you want to be redirected to that site. So when you look at this example site, clicking on this text will redirect me to the IST page. Okay, so links can also change color depending on the activity. Like they can be blue if it's unvisited, purple when it's visited, and red if it's currently active. So two other important attributes for the A tag are title and target. So title basically provides extra info about the link. So when I go back to my example, you can see that when I'm hovering over this link, I'm seeing IST crypt, which I've written as the title for that link. So this is seen as a tooltip text. And the second attribute is target. So now target basically specifies where the page will be opened once you click on the link. So it can have various values like self, blank, parent, top. So self is the default one, which means that when you click on the link, it will open the same tab. So in the example below, I have put target as blank. So when I click on this link, it's opening in a new tab. So next is using image as a link. So image can also be used as a link. We can do this by putting the image tag in the A tag. So I'll tell you more in detail about this image tag in a while. But for now, you just need to know that the SRC attribute of the image is basically specifying the link to the image. That is the path where we can find the image. So in this example, I have put the link to the NITK site in the href attribute in the A tag. So when I'm going to the website, when I click on this NITK logo, you can see that I'm redirected to the NITK site, which is what I had put in the A tag. So that was using image as a link. So next we can directly send an email to someone. So to do this, in the href tag, I've put mail to and the email ID of the person. So when I click on this text, I should like directly be able to send the email to someone. So let's see that. So you can see that when I'm clicking on this, my mail is opened and I'm able to send a mail to someone. So next is we can use a button as a link. So to do this, we kind of need a little bit of JavaScript. So you'll learn more about it later. But just for the sake of this, this is the syntax. Button click is equal to document.location. And you put in the link of the web page that you want to be redirected to. So example you can see in the site. So this is a button and it's written click me to see the NITK beach. So when I click on this button, I'm being redirected to the NITK live page. Okay, so now let's move on to the next topic, which is the HTML images. So as I mentioned before, the image tag is needed for the images. And one thing that we have to note is that the image does not have a closing tag. Like most tags, like the A tag that we learned before for the links has a closing tag, but image does not have. And also another thing to know is that images are not directly inserted into the web page. It's basically they are links to web pages. And the image tag is used to hold the space for that referenced image. So the most important attributes of the image tag are source and alt. So again, SRC, as I told before, it is mentions the path to the image. Now the alt text is very important because it is there if the image is not available to the user. And this can happen because of slow connection, an error in the SRC attribute, or if the user uses a screen reader. So like in the source, okay, I'll show you example in the site. This is a sample image of the NITK campus that I've inserted here. Now, if I change the source and I reload the page, you can see that the alt text, that is the NITK campus, is shown here because we're not able to access that image. So next is a style attribute. So style attribute is used to change the height and the width of the image. So you can see here, this is the basic syntax for the style attribute. We have mentioned the height and the width in terms of pixels here. If you don't want to use a style attribute, you can also directly just use the height and the width attributes. So this is basically how it looks with the style attribute. Just reload it 1 second. So this is the style attribute and this is the height and width attribute. So it's basically the same thing. So now if I change the width to say 800 pixels and I reload the site, you can see that the width has changed. Next is animated images. So animated images are just like normal images, and the only difference is the extension, which is a .gif. And as you can see, this is how an animated image would look on a site. Next is image floating. So image floating is basically it's used in the style attribute. You can use it with the width and the height or just alone. You can write float right or float left, and the main purpose of this is to align the image to the right or the left of the text that is given. So as you can see here, float right has floated the image to the right of the para and left has floated it to the left. So this is basically the command for it. And lastly, these are some of the common image file extensions that are supported by most browsers. So let's move on to the next topic, which is the HTML tables. So a table tag is used to define a HTML table. You can use the TR tag to define a row, a TH tag to define the headings, and a TD tag to define each cell. So this is a basic example of a table that you can see here. We have three TR tags, so there are three rows basically. The first row is for the heading, so you can see the TH tag, and the last two rows are just the normal cells. Now, we can also add styling to these tables to make them look better. So I'll just go to the head section. So in the head, we have put the style tag, and in the style, I have specified certain styles for the tables. So to add a border, you can just write border, and here you can see it's a black border we have put. And border collapse will collapse all the borders into one, so it will look like a single border. Then there is padding. So cell padding is basically the space between the border and the cell content. So here we have put 15 pixels padding and text align as left. So this is the TH tag, which is the headers tag. So the header is usually bold and centered. So now if I want to specify it to be a left line, then I have to put the CSS property here. So now when we look at our sample web page, this is how the table looks. So you can see the text line is left. We have a border and it's a collapsed border. And we also have a cell padding. Okay, now next is if you want to make a cell that spans over many columns. So for example, we want the same heading for two columns. Then we can write the call span attribute in that tag. Like in this case, in this th, the call span is equal to 2 is given. So let's just look at that table. So in this table, the telephone number heading is spanning over these two columns. So for a single person, you can enter two telephone numbers. So that's how this can be used. And also one more thing, width is equal to 100% basically means that the table is expanded, like it is sized to fit the entire width of the browser. So similarly, we have cell that spans many rows. So a cell that spans many rows is basically used for, okay, I'll show the example first. Like in this case, okay, so we have a name and we have the movies. So like this is the movies that this person has done. So this one cell has been spanning over these three rows. So again, this is the same format. So we want the movies header to be spanning over three rows. So that's why we've written row span is equal to 3. So next, you can also add a caption to your table using the caption tag. So here is a caption tag basically, open and close tag. Now in this example, you can see that there's a name of the person and the favorite food item. So we have provided a caption favorite foods for this table. So lastly, we can also make our tables look more attractive by adding CSS. So I will explain more about IDs in classes soon. But like for this example, I've taken ID is equal to T1. So T1 is used to uniquely identify this specific table. Now, if we go to the CSS section, and so CSS is basically used to improve the look of the table, right? So here, and we specify ID with hashtag. So since the ID was T1, we write hashtag T1. So you can see the properties that we have added here. The even rows will have pale violet red color, and the all rows will have plum. And also the header will have a black background and with the white text. So when we apply all the CSS, this is how the table basically looks. You can see the white text, the black background, and the different colors that we have applied for each row. Okay, now moving on to classes and IDs. So I just talked about like the ID T1, which was used for that table. So IDs can be used to uniquely identify an element and to style that particular element. Like in this case, we have ID is equal to ID1 for this heading, classes and ID. So let me check in the CSS section. So here is ID1, and you can see so many specifications. This is basically the CSS styling given. And let's take a simple one to check. Okay, like background color over here is given as this blue color, and we can check on the side. So you can see that the background is blue, and we also have a border of the tomato color. So that means the styling has successfully been applied. Now, next is classes. So, classes are a little different from IDs. IDs are used for particular elements and for that specific element, but classes can be used to group elements together. And the main point of this is you can apply the same styling to a group of elements. And they're also used in JavaScript, like you can also address the divisions and the classes by using the JavaScript. And we address classes by using dot the class name. Like for ID, we have written hashtag ID1. So for class, we'll write dot class1. So you can see the first division is belonging to class 1. So if we go and see the styling of that, so the background color is again tomato. So we can see that this one is belonging to class 1 and the particular styling has been applied. And here just note that it's written dot class 1 while here it is hashtag ID2. Now this one also belongs to class 1, but the difference is that it has a style attribute, like with the background color blue violet inside it. So if we look at what it finally gets, see it actually gets the blue violet color even though it belongs to class 1. So this is mainly because internal styling has less preference than inline styling. So inline styling is what this is basically when we write it along with the text that has to be styled, and internal styling is what we just saw before. That is when it is written in the style tag in the head. So even this one is belonging to class 1. Again, as we can see, class 1 has a tomato background color. Now this one belongs to both class 1 and class 2. But if you see, you can see that it gets the background color for the class 2, which is the blue violet color. So the reason behind this is if it belongs to two classes and the same property is specified in both the classes, like see here, the background color is specified in both the classes, it takes the one that is specified second. So here class 2 is written second, so that's why it gets the blue violet color. Now lastly, here we have a span, which is also part of the class 2. So you can see the styling is applied same as the class 2. So this is basically just to show that we have different elements which are belonging to the same class. So that's all for this video. Hope you guys have an idea about these topics, and make sure to hit the like button and keep watching IST and ITK.